DS/DSi era is perhaps my favorite part of Nintendo's history. One, because nostalgia, and two, who am I kidding? It's mostly nostalgia. Sure, the DS had tons of shovelware on it like its predecessors, but I'd argue for it being one of the most captivating and one of the greatest handhelds of all time. I mean, you look at the Switch now, and we're missing a lot of things that, we had back then. You could have given me a DS with no games, and that would have been enough. But what are you going to do with a Switch? Change between light and dark themes? I mean, we don't even have menu music. It's just a bunch of clicking when you're going through games. But on the DS, you got a camera with fun effects, a mini sound studio, flip note, and of course, online games that were not brought down by an incessant I can't say words apparently, incessant loading problem of multiple not so Nintendo-like games. You know what I'm talking about. The one thing all of Nintendo's consoles seem to have in common is a great library of games. So sit back and relax as we look through some of the greatest games the DSi has to offer. New Super Mario Bros. DS. The first time we started saying new, and it actually felt, well, new. We could hear Mario's voice, we got unique bosses, and even a fun little pack of minigames. That and the music was really, really good. Like, so good. I don't even know how to describe it. Maybe I'll play a little snippet or something. They were really cooking with this one. Out of all the new Super Mario games, I'd say this one right alongside Wii has aged the best. Who could forget about the incredible multiplayer mode included, Mario vs. Luigi? This is where you and a friend would go head to head via download play to battle it out for the most stars. This was also back when not everyone was required to own the game, which made it so much more accessible. While you had multiplayer for Wii and onwards, it's just not the same. Sure, you can battle on the way to the goalpost, but it's just not made with any competitiveness in mind. Don't get me wrong, I am a huge fan of co-op games, but I wish this mode could have come back in some form. This isn't where multiplayer stops though, you could also play the aforementioned minigames. Yes, some are shared with Super Mario 64 DS, but the difference is that you can play with friends. Both of these modes were always such a fun time. So yeah, you got a great main campaign and two great multiplayer options. It was truly ahead of its time. Next up, we got Super Mario 64 DS, my first experience with Super Mario 64. While not my favorite game growing up, I did enjoy this game a lot. Sure, its controls hold it back, but it wasn't that big of a deal to me given it was my only experience with the game. I think graphically, it's pretty great, and I always love the inclusion of Mario, Luigi, Yoshi, and Wario as playable characters. Obviously, Wario's inclusion wasn't done the best. His jumping kinda sucks and feels like a hard mode that just isn't fun to play. The game's biggest sin was the lack of Waluigi as a playable character, and the hours I spent as a kid trying to make him real. It kind of mirrored the L is real thing that happened with the Nintendo 64, where people thought that Luigi was a real playable character in the original Mario 64, except, a new era of kids and history repeated itself. The game did have some multiplayer options, which was nice, but sadly, it wasn't nearly as good as New Super Mario Bros. Think collecting stars, but 3D, and you're all Yoshis, and you can also grab caps as power-ups. Don't get me wrong, it was fun, but the lack of control over time or star amount did hold it back, in my opinion. Mario vs. Luigi let me win by defeating my opponent, having more stars, or just straight up surviving. Here you kind of just have the 1-star collecting option, which again is fun, but after doing it over and over again, you kind of want some variety. The remake did add other features like new stages, new bosses, both of which were super cool. You could fight Goomboss, King Boo, this ice guy, I forgot his name, but that's how you unlock Wario in the game. And of course, you also had minigames. The minigames, you couldn't really play them multiplayer, it was just single player. They were still fun though, it's not like it was a bad thing. I just think the main multiplayer where you're running around as Yoshis could have been better. But overall, it's a great game. Had a lot of fun with it as a kid, and I look back on it fondly. I'd even say I prefer it to the original Super Mario 64. If you take out controls, like the camera was pretty good. There were also other improvements. I feel like if they remade Super Mario 64, this is the version I'd want remade. Or maybe taking aspects of this version and putting it in the original. Because playing the original game and not having the option to go back, I just wouldn't really like it as much. Mario Party DS. Oh boy, can you tell I'm a Mario fan. Mario Party DS is not like the other Mario Parties. Not in the pick-me kind of way, but it just stands out, okay? I love when multiplayer games have content for single players. Most of my friends aren't and weren't Nintendo fans, so I was pretty stuck playing a lot of these games on my own. First off, we have to talk about theme. This Mario Party has a story about how Bowser invites Mario and friends to a party, but oh no, they're all shrunk down. He tricked them. Oh, who would have expected that? So across all these stages, they keep that theme. You have gardens with giant plants, a music room where you can get shot out of tubas, and even a pinball machine. That's not even the best part of the game, which in my opinion was the story mode. Not only do you have to win on every stage, but you also have to fight a couple of bosses to eventually fight Bowser, and that's pretty much the story mode. Now, it's nothing crazy, but something compelled younger me to replay the Dry Bones boss fight for straight hours. Not because it was hard, but because I genuinely liked it that much. This game also really encourages replay value by allowing you to get rewarded for every time you beat the boss or make an accomplishment in the game. In some way, you just get a bunch of stuff for your gallery. Eventually, when you beat the boss enough times, you get a trophy of their corpse for some reason. You also win a model of each character you complete the story with, so that's really cool. I think it encourages, like, hey, play the game with every character. The only area I'd say the game hasn't aged super well in is the mic minigames, because they don't translate very well to other platforms. Like, if you play this on 3DS, you're probably gonna lose to, an easy CPU or something. But overall, it's my favorite Mario Party, and if they were to bring it back in some way, I would be pretty ecstatic, I'm not gonna lie. The last game I want to talk about today is Mario Kart DS. Mario Kart DS continues that theme of being a game that's primarily supposed to be played in multiplayer, but if you are playing on your own, you still have a bunch of stuff you can do. This was my first DS game as a kid, so it's obviously super special to me. I, however, can admit that some of the graphics aren't the greatest. Bowser looks kind of weird. I remember him looking a lot better, and it's fairly polygonal for a game on the DS. It kind of feels like Nintendo 64 graphics, kind of. Aside from that, the game does have some great stages, especially in battle mode. You got a DS stage, a cake stage, and tons more. Not that other consoles need like a stage of the console that you're playing them on, but come on, that's creative. That's really, really cute. My favorite part was always mission mode. I had this obsession with boss fights as a kid. In case you couldn't tell, I'm bringing up boss fights like every game. Look, boss fights on cars aren't the most optimal thing, but they somehow made it work. You also can't forget the iconic tracks like Waluigi's Pinball and, of course, Rainbow Road, which blew my mind as a kid. Like, whoa, you are racing on a rainbow. You also had cool inclusions like making your own kart design, which was really cute. I don't know why they haven't brought this back. And these are all reasons why I consider Mario Kart DS to be the greatest Mario Kart game. But anyways, that's going to wrap up this video. I definitely have a bunch of other games I'd like to talk more about in the future, so if you'd like a part 2, be sure to let me know. Also, comment down below. Let me know your favorite Nintendo DS game if you have one, or a Nintendo DS game you think deserves a remake. That's maybe another video I can do. I did touch upon some remake stuff briefly here, but, there could be a whole video on that if you guys want. Anyways, I appreciate you watching. It means a lot. Hope you have a great whatever it is. Bye.